Hi friends, welcome to day 5 of our journey to read through the Bible in 366 days. I'm so glad you're here. Today we're diving into some pivotal moments in Genesis and the start of one of Jesus' most famous teachings in Matthew. Let's get started. What stands out to you about Abram's faith? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. Genesis 12. Abram's journey to Egypt. Now in Haran the Lord said to Abram, Go away from your country, and from your relatives, and from your father's house, to the land which I will show you, and I will make you a great nation, and I will bless you abundantly, and make your name great, exalted, distinguished, and you shall be a blessing, a source of great good to others. And I will bless, do good for benefit, those who bless you, and I will curse, that is, subject to my wrath and judgment. The one who curses, despises, dishonors, has contempt for you. And in you all the families, nations of the earth will be blessed. So Abram departed in faithful obedience as the Lord had directed him, and Lot his nephew left with him. Abram was 75 years old when he left Haran. Abram took Sarai his wife, and Lot his nephew, and all their possessions which they had acquired, and the people servants which they had acquired in Haran, and they set out to go to the land of Canaan. When they came to the land of Canaan, Abram passed through the land as far as the site of Shechem, to the great terebinth oak tree of Moreh. Now the Canaanites were in the land at that time. Then the Lord appeared to Abram and said, I will give this land to your descendants. So Abram built an altar there to honor the Lord who had appeared to him. Then he moved on from there to the mountain of the east of Bethel, and pitched his tent, with Bethel on the west and Ai on the east. And there he built an altar to the Lord, and called on the name of the Lord in worship through prayer, praise, and thanksgiving. Then Abram journeyed on, continuing toward the Negev, the south country of Judah. Now there was a famine in the land, and Abram went down into Egypt to live temporarily, for the famine in the land was oppressive and severe. And when he was about to enter Egypt, he said to Sarai his wife, Listen, I know that you are a beautiful woman, so when the Egyptians see you, they will say, This is his wife, and they will kill me to acquire you, but they will let you live. Please tell them that you are my sister, so that things will go well for me for your sake, and my life will be spared because of you. And when Abram entered Egypt, the Egyptians saw that Sarai was very beautiful. Pharaoh's princes, officials also saw her and praised her to Pharaoh, and the woman was taken for the purpose of marriage into Pharaoh's house harem. Therefore Pharaoh treated Abram well for her sake. He acquired sheep, oxen, male and female donkeys, male and female servants, and camels. But the Lord punished Pharaoh and his household with severe plagues because of Sarai, Abram's wife. Then Pharaoh called Abram and said, What is this that you have done to me? Why did you not tell me that she was your wife? Why did you say she is my sister, so that I took her as my wife? Now then, here is your wife, take her and go. So Pharaoh commanded his men concerning him, and they escorted him on his way, with his wife and all that he had. Genesis 13. Abram and Lot. So Abram went up out of Egypt, he and his wife and all that he had, and Lot his nephew with him, into the Negev, the south country of Judah. Now Abram was extremely rich in livestock and in silver and gold. He journeyed on from the Negev as far as Bethel, to the place where his tent had been at the beginning, between Bethel and Ai, where he had first built an altar, and there Abram called on the name of the Lord in prayer. But Lot, who went with Abram, also had flocks and herds and tents. Now the land was not able to support them, that is, sustain all their grazing and water needs, while they lived near one another, for their possessions were too great for them to stay together. And there was strife and quarreling between the herdsmen of Abram's cattle and the herdsmen of Lot's cattle. Now the Canaanite and the Perizzite were living in the land at that same time, making grazing of the livestock difficult. So Abram said to Lot, Please let there be no strife and disagreement between you and me, nor between your herdsmen and my herdsmen, because we are relatives. Is not the entire land before you? Please separate yourself from me. If you take the left, then I will go to the right, or if you choose the right, then I will go to the left. So Lot looked and saw that the valley of the Jordan was well watered everywhere. This was before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. It was all like the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt, as you go to Zoar at the south end of the Dead Sea. Then Lot chose for himself all the valley of the Jordan, and he traveled east. So they separated from each other. Abram settled in the land of Canaan, and Lot settled in the cities of the valley and camped as far as Sodom and lived there. But the men of Sodom were extremely wicked and sinful against the Lord, unashamed in their open sin before him. The Lord said to Abram after Lot had left him, Now lift up your eyes and look from the place where you are standing, northward and southward, and eastward and westward. For all the land which you see I will give to you and to your descendants forever. I will make your descendants as numerous as the dust of the earth, so that if a man could count the grains of dust of the earth, then your descendants could also be counted. Arise, walk, make a thorough reconnaissance around in the land, through its length and its width, for I will give it to you. Then Abram broke camp and moved his tent, and came and settled by the grove of the great terebinths, oak trees, of Mamre the Amorite, which are in Hebron, and there he built an altar to honor the Lord. Genesis 14. War of the Kings. In the days of the eastern kings, Amraphel and Shinar, Arioch and Elasar, Chedorlaomer of Elam, and Tidal of Goim, they invaded the Jordan Valley near the Dead Sea, and made war with Bera king of Sodom, Bersha king of Gomorrah, Shinab king of Admah, Shemeber king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, that is Zoar. All of these kings joined together as allies in the valley of Siddim, that is the Sea of Salt. 12 years they had served Chedorlaomer, the most powerful king in the invading confederacy, but in the 13th year they rebelled. In the 14th year Chedorlaomer and the 3 kings who were with him attacked and subdued the Rephaim in Ashtaroth Karnaim, the Suzim in Ham, and the Emim in Shaveh Kiriathaim, and the Horites in the mountainous country of Seir as far as El-Paran, which is on the border of the wilderness. Then they turned back and came to En-Mishpat, that is Kadesh, and subdued all the country of the Amalekites, and also the Amorites who lived in Hazazon Tamar. Then the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah, Admah, Zeboim, and Bela, that is Zoar, came out, and they joined together for battle with the invading kings in the valley of Siddim against Chedorlaomer king of Elam, and Tidal king of Goim, and Amraphel king of Shinar, and Arioch king of Elasar, 4 kings against 5. Now the valley of Siddim was full of tar, bitumen, pits, and as the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fled, they fell into them. But the remainder of the kings who survived fled to the hill country. Then the victors took all the possessions of Sodom and Gomorrah, and all their food supply and provisions, and left. And they also took captive Lot, Abram's nephew, and his possessions, and left, for he was living in Sodom. Then a survivor who had escaped from the invading forces on the other side of the Jordan came and told Abram the Hebrew. Now he was living by the terebinth oaks of Mamre, the Amorite brother of Eshcol and brother of Aner, they were allies of Abram. When Abram heard that his nephew Lot had been captured, he armed and led out his trained men, born in his own house, numbering 318, and went in pursuit as far as north as Dan. He divided his forces against them by night, he and his servants, and attacked and defeated them, and pursued them as far as Hobah, which is north of Damascus. And he brought back all the goods, and also brought back his nephew Lot and his possessions, and also the woman and the people. Abram and Melchizedek. When, after Abram's return from the slaughter of Chedorlaomer and the kings who were with him, the king of Sodom went out to meet him at the valley of Shaveh, that is the king's valley. Melchizedek, king of Salem, ancient Jerusalem, brought out bread and wine for them. He was the priest of God Most High. And Melchizedek blessed Abram and said, Blessed, joyful, favored be Abram by God Most High, creator and possessor of heaven and earth. And blessed, praised, and glorified be God Most High, who has given your enemies into your hand. And Abram gave him 1/10 of all the treasure he had taken in battle. The king of Sodom said to Abram, Give me the people and keep the good spoils of battle for yourself. But Abram said to the king of Sodom, I have raised my hand and sworn an oath to the Lord God Most High, the creator and possessor of heaven and earth, that I would not take anything that is yours, from a thread to a sandal strap, so you could not say, I, the king of Sodom, have made Abram rich. I will take nothing except what my young men have eaten, and the share of spoils belonging to the men, my allies, who went with me, Anar, Eshcol, and Mamre. Let them take their share of the spoils. Now, let's turn to Matthew. Today we're starting the Sermon on the Mount, one of Jesus' most powerful teachings. In verses 1 to 12, we'll read the Beatitudes. These are blessings that show us God's upside-down kingdom, where the meek and the merciful are celebrated. As you read verses 13 to 26, think about how Jesus calls us to live as salt and light in the world. What does it mean for you to bring flavor and light to those around you? And how can we handle anger and conflict in a way that honors God? Matthew 5, the Sermon on the Mount, the Beatitudes. When Jesus saw the crowds, he went up on the mountain. And when he was seated, his disciples came to him. Then he began to teach them, saying, Blessed, spiritually prosperous, happy to be admired, are the poor in spirit, those devoid of spiritual arrogance, those who regard themselves as insignificant, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven, both now and forever. Blessed, forgiven, refreshed by God's grace are those who mourn over their sins and repent, for they will be comforted when the burden of sin is lifted. Blessed, inwardly peaceful, spiritually secure, worthy of respect are the gentle, the kind-hearted, the sweet-spirited, the self-controlled, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed, joyful, nourished by God's goodness are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, those who actively seek right standing with God, for they will be completely satisfied. Blessed, content, sheltered by God's promises are the merciful, for they will receive mercy. Blessed, anticipating God's presence, spiritually mature are the pure in heart, those with integrity, moral courage, and godly character, for they will see God. Blessed, spiritually calm with life joy in God's favor are the makers and maintainers of peace, for they will express His character and be called the sons of God. Blessed, comforted by inner peace and God's love are those who are persecuted for doing that which is morally right, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven, both now and forever. Blessed, morally courageous, and spiritually alive with life joy in God's goodness are you when people insult you and persecute you and falsely say all kinds of evil things against you because of your association with me. Be glad and exceedingly joyful, for your reward in heaven is great, absolutely inexhaustible. For in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you. Disciples and the world. You are the salt of the earth, but if the salt has lost its taste, purpose, how can it be made sultry? It is no longer good for anything but to be thrown out and walked on by people when the walkways are wet and slippery. You are the light of Christ to the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden, nor does anyone light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a lampstand, and it gives light to all who are in the house. Let your light shine before men in such a way that they may see your good deeds and moral excellence, and recognize and honor and glorify your Father who is in heaven. Do not think that I came to do away with or undo the law of Moses or the writings of the prophets. I did not come to destroy but to fulfill. For I assure you and most solemnly say to you, until heaven and earth pass away, not the smallest letter or stroke of the pen will pass from the law until all things which is foreshadowed are accomplished. So whoever breaks one of the least important of these commandments and teaches others to do the same will be called least important in the kingdom of heaven. But whoever practices and teaches them, he will be called great in the kingdom of heaven. For I say to you that unless your righteousness, uprightness, moral essence is more than that of the scribes and Pharisees, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Personal relationships. You have heard that it was said to the men of old, you shall not murder, and whoever murders shall be guilty before the court. But I say to you that everyone who continues to be angry with his brother or harbors malice against him shall be guilty before the court, and whoever speaks contemptuously and insultingly to his brother, Raka, you empty-headed idiot, shall be guilty before the Supreme Court, Sanhedrin, and whoever says, you fool, shall be in danger of the fiery hell. So if you are presenting your offering at the altar, and while there you remember that your brother has something such as a grievance or legitimate complaint against you, leave your offering there at the altar and go. First make peace with your brother, and then come and present your offering. Come to terms quickly at the earliest opportunity with your opponent at law while you are with him and on the way to court, so that your opponent does not hand you over to the judge and the judge to the guard, and you are thrown into prison. I assure you and most solemnly say to you, you will not come out of there until you have paid the last cent. You have heard that it was said, you shall not commit adultery, but I say to you that everyone who so much as looks at a woman with lust for her has already committed adultery with her in his heart. If your right eye makes you stumble and leads you to sin, tear it out and throw it away. That is, remove yourself from the source of temptation, for it is better for you to lose one of the parts of your body than for your whole body to be thrown into hell. If your right hand makes you stumble and leads you to sin, cut it off and throw it away. That is, remove yourself from the source of temptation, for it is better for you to lose one of the parts of your body than for your whole body to go into hell. It has also been said, whoever divorces his wife is to give her a certificate of divorce. But I say to you that whoever divorces his wife except on grounds of sexual immorality causes her to commit adultery, and whoever marries a woman who has been divorced commits adultery. Again, You have heard that it was said to men of old, You shall not make false vows, but you shall fulfill your vows to the Lord as a religious duty. But I say to you, do not make an oath at all, either by heaven, for it is the throne of God, or by the earth, for it is the footstool of his feet, or by Jerusalem, for it is the city of the great King. Nor shall you make an oath by your head, for you are not able to make a single hair white or black. But let your statement be yes, yes, or no, no. A firm yes or no. Anything more than that comes from the evil one. You have heard that it was said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, punishment that fits the offense. But I say to you, do not resist an evil person who insults you or violates your rights. But whoever slaps you on the right cheek, turn the other toward him also. Simply ignore insignificant insults or trivial losses and do not bother to retaliate. Maintain your dignity, your self-respect, your poise. If anyone wants to sue you and take your shirt, let him have your coat as well. For the Lord repays the offender, and whoever forces you to go 1 mile, go with him 2. Give to him who asks of you, and do not turn away from him who wants to borrow from you. You have heard that it was said, You shall love your neighbor, fellow man, and hate your enemy. But I say to you, love, that is, unselfishly seek the best or higher good for your enemies, and pray for those who persecute you, so that you may show yourself to be the children of your Father who is in heaven. For he makes his sun rise on those who are evil and on those who are good, and makes the rain fall on the righteous, those who are morally upright, and the unrighteous, the unrepentant, those who oppose him. For if you love only those who love you, what reward do you have? Do not even the tax collectors do that? And if you greet only your brothers, wishing them God's blessing and peace, what more than others are you doing? Do not even the Gentiles who do not know the Lord do that? You therefore will be perfect, growing into spiritual maturity both in mind and character, actively integrating godly values into your daily life as your Heavenly Father is perfect. Thank you for joining me today. I'd love to hear what spoke to you from today's reading. Let's continue to encourage one another as we learn and grow together. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss day 6. See you tomorrow.